Good morning, stampers and crafters. Hi, I'm Tina with Tina's Crafty Ink Spot. I am a Stampin' Up! Independent demonstrator. Today's card, I want to do this really fun technique. It's called reverse or mirror stamping and mirror die cutting. So not only are we going to mirror an image, we're also going to die cut the mirror without the separate die. I'm going to show you how you can use the same die you have for your regular die cut in order to cut a mirrored image. So here's a couple samples of them, and this card here is the one we're going to make today, and it features the celebration set. Happy birthday to you. Love it. Look at this cake. Isn't this neat? This would be great for weddings, anything like that. This is a celebration set, which means with a qualifying order, you can get this stamp set free. Then it has coordinating dies that are available for it. Cut out the cake. You can cut out a separate little cake plate. I would probably do that in foils. A couple little leaves and some other little sprigs. It also has a separate die cut in which you can cut out just the flowers off the cake. Love that idea because you could use those flowers on anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this card. And it looks pretty simple here. This is where we die cut the flowers. We die cut some leaves and the sprigs. But watch this. Let me see if I can get this to turn out on film or on the camera. When you open it, the little cake pops up. So you have, when it's open, the cake stands up off the card. And both sides of the cake are done. This was done with our mirror stamping and mirror die cutting. You could do this with any images. Another cute idea I used for it, and we don't have a die cut for this, but it'll work the same, is here's our little meerkats. Welcome to a stand-up friend. And when you open it, your little meerkats stand up from all of us. Isn't that cute? Now this one, I didn't do the mirror stamping on the back. I just created a regular fold-up stand. And when I make the stand for this birthday cake, it'll make total sense to you how this is done. And that you can use any image you have to make it stand up off your card. It's a cute, fun idea and a little surprise. You could do anything. You could do pop-up balloons, anything like that. And it's quite simple to do. You're going to be surprised. But what we want to do is we want to do this one today, because this one has the mirrored image on the back that has been die cut. So let's jump in and get started. So what I'm going to do with a piece of scrap paper, with some paper, is we are going to bring in our stamp. Now, I would suggest using your Stamparatus for this. I use my Stamparatus for everything, so it's kind of just a go-to thing. So what we're going to do, oops, and we have a runner. I just hit my markers and they went flying. So let's go ahead and stamp our cake. And when you're, and I colored these with Stampin' Blends, alcohol markers, okay? And if you look at my video from a week or so ago, I did a basics on coloring with your Stampin' Blends. You pretty much always have to use Memento. Memento's the only ink I've found that does not bleed or run when you're using alcohol. I have tried StazOn, but you got to make sure it's very, very dry in order to not bleed. So Memento's pretty much what I stamp with. So let's stamp our cake. ink it up nice. When you see me do this, I'm merely holding the stamp down, and it gives the ink a chance to transfer. It's not necessarily that I'm pressing. I mean, I'm giving it a firm press, but when you let your stamp sit there a second, it just gives the ink time to transfer. See, I had a little light spot right there, so I'm just going to add a little ink and stamp again. So there we go. We got that nice and inked up. So now we're going to do, let me grab a, I still haven't found my, my chamois. I have the Stampin' Chamois, and I think I carried it to somebody's house that I was teaching at, and I think I left it there, so I have to order a new one. So now we're going to do a reverse image of this. Oops, got my magnets together. And just for the sake of being, I'm going to cut this and just have a separate sheet of paper. So all I did is cut my piece off. Now, the trick to mirror stamping is having a flat, blank piece of silicone. This is just like your photopolymer stamps, but it's blank. So if you don't have one of these, if you have a large photopolymer stamp, you can flip it over and use the back side of your large photopolymer. Okay, all you need is a flat surface of the silicone. Okay, so if you have some large photopolymer stamps, you can use the back side of them for this. So what I want to do, we're going to move our paper off, and I'm also going to remove the pad and the paper I use for this, because this is thick. Okay, so all I'm going to do, and being the way it is, it sticks. See, it sticks to your plastic plate. So what we'll do is we'll line up our cake on there, pick it up, and now we're just going to stamp onto the photopolymer. I've had this blank one for years. If I can, I'll look on the internet and see if I can find one for you. And if I do find it, it'll be in the supplies on this post, on this blog post. I'll see if I can find one and a link to it. I'm sure if you went, probably just right on Amazon and typed in blank stamps, maybe it would come up. Okay, so I'm inking this twice to make sure it's nice and inked up. Now I'm going to take my paper and I'm just going to gently lay it right over the top of that and then just rub it to make sure the ink transfers. You could do this where you have two images right next to each other, you know. Maybe I'll do one where you put two butterflies facing each other or something like that. It's just mirrored stamping. So then when you pick up, there's your perfect mirrored image. Let me wipe this off and move it to the side. I'm just going to set that aside. So now here's our mirrored image, and let me find what I did with our original. Oh, here it is. So look, they're a perfect mirrored image. Isn't that neat? So now, to do a mirrored die cut, we're going to take our birthday cake die, and as you see with the regular image, it's a regular die cut. But if you were to go to die cut here, it doesn't line up. So I'm going to show you how we're going to die cut that. let's cut this one out first. I've got my die cut machine off to the side here, so all I'm doing is lining up my die cut, and I'm going to run it through my machine. I was going to use my Big Shot this morning, but I'm having a little trouble with my arm and hand today, so I can't really turn it too well. And I have a power machine. Okay, so now we have our perfect little cake die cut. See there? Now we want to be able to die cut this one. And here's a really fun trick. Set that aside. Now almost all of us have a cell phone, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my settings, or let me go out of this. Let me pull down. I'm going to go to my flashlight, and I'm going to turn on my flashlight, and I apologize, it's going to shine up in the camera. So what we're going to do is we are going to, with our image facing this way and the camera light behind it, we're going to set our die with the die cut. Okay, this is your die cut edge. And we have a runner. Just drop it. And we're going to take and use the light of our... Let me see if I can turn off this upper light, and maybe it'll show better for you. So when you see the die cut behind there, all you're going to do is line it up on your image. Can you see the shadow of it around the die cut? Or around the image? Okay. I'm going to hold it there a second. I'm going to bring in Post-it Note Kitty. And I'm going to grab a Post-it note and the sticky part of it. And I'm simply going to lay it over that to where the Post-it note holds the die in place. And now we're going to run it through our die cut machine. I guess I could have flipped that over, sorry. So now, you take your Post-it note out and your cake out. You have a perfectly mirrored die cut. Look at that. And they fit perfectly together because it's die cut together. Look at that. Isn't that fun? It's super easy. So let me turn off this flashlight. I've seen other ways you can do it, where you try to do it with this and a flashlight. To me, it's just easy to grab the die cut, lay it on the back side over your light, and then Post-it note it. Again, there's several ways to do things, and my normal disclaimer is I'm just showing you the way I know how to do it, or the way I've learned. So now, what you would do is you'd color these. And on the video a couple weeks ago, I gave you some hints on how to color flowers and things. So I've sped up the process, and I've already colored our cakes. And I did a separate stamped image of the cake, cut out the flowers, colored them to match, and cut out the flowers. So you need 2 cakes and 1 set of flowers. And I also die cut in the stamp set is these really neat leaves. And I don't know if this is going to show, but look how intricate they are. They have little, they're die cut embossed. Okay, so we have our little leaves, and I cut out 3 sets of those so that I have 6 leaves. And I also die cut, and these are cut out in Old Olive. All the supplies will be below. Then I die cut 2 of the little sprigs here, and I did those in Daffodil Delight. So what we're going to do, let's build the inside first, and then we can work on the outside while the inside's drying. So now I have a regular piece of A2 Whisper White cardstock. Okay, move this stuff aside here. And what I've done is I've cut 2 strips of paper that are about a 1/4 inch thick. Now, how thick this is going to depend on what's going to hide behind your image. Okay, even that's just a hair big, but I'm not going to worry about it. So what we want to do, and then on the very end of it, I scored a 1/4 inch. So you end up with this little piece of paper with a 1/4 inch fold on the end. Okay, so take your cake, flip it over, and let me grab scissors. And what I'm going to do is cut this to where it'll be hidden behind the cake. And your fold, let me zoom in. I guess I need to turn my light on for you. Okay, there we go. Here's a little light. And I can zoom in just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. So now you're going to take, and this folded side, right at the edge of where the fold is going to go flush at the bottom of your cake. Okay, so it's going to be flush right at the bottom where the fold is. Okay, so that's going to end up being a little folded tab, and you want the fold pointing up or to the back of the image. And now I'm going to cut this to where it's going to be hidden behind the cake. So I'm just going to trim that off. And now I'm going to take glue, or I would suggest using your tear and tape or glue, because you want a really strong adhesive here. So I'm just going to put a little glue on that, and then I'm going to line it up to where my fold is right at the edge of my cake pan there. And the good thing with glue is you have a little bit of give to adjust it. Okay, so now we've got one done. Now we're going to do the other one the same way. I've got my little 1/4 inch flap die cut there. We'll trim this down to fit behind the cake. Attach it to our cake. Make sure we're flush at the edge of the bottom of the cake there. Okay, see how it's flush and pointing up? Okay, we've got our 2 cakes. And then fold this down a little, just to get out of your way. Now you're going to take glue or a very strong adhesive, and you're just going to put it on the top of your image. Just a little bit of the top of your image. And then you're going to glue them together, and it's just going to be glued at the top. Line up your die cuts. That's another good reason to use glue. You can line these up really easy. Okay, while that's drying, so you're ending up with only the very top of this is being glued. Okay, now we're going to let that dry. Now we're going to bring in our cardstock. Okay, it opens this way. So you still have your 2 little flaps. Okay, if they're not completely even, like I'm just a skoshie off right there, I'm just going to trim it so they're both even. See there? Now, I'm going to put glue on just the little flaps on the outside of each one. And here I would use your good tape or glue. Now go to the seam, right to the seam of your card, center it where you want it. Now we're right on the seam. See there where it's on the seam there? Now we're going to close the card on it and hold it there till it dries a little bit. And while that's drying, you could start working on your card front. So we're just going to make sure that's nice and dry before we open it up. And now for the card front, I have some rich razzleberry that is going to match our flowers. I have a little piece of Daffodil Delight. I will have all these measurements on the post below. Have the measurements and the products we used. I'll move out here a little bit for you. This is a piece of stitched white. I used the rectangle stitch dies to create this one. And we're going to bring our Stamparatus in. And we are going to stamp our greeting. Let me put my foam piece back on here. I pretty much always have my foam piece on because when you're using photopolymer, it gives it that little bit of cushion to do a really good stamp. So let's use our happy birthday. Bring in our rectangle stitch die. Okay, now we're just going to put our happy birthday right in the middle here. So we're going to do flowers. You can decorate the front any way you like. I'm just going to go over how I did this one. This would probably look really good if you black embossed it, if you wanted to step it up a little bit. But we're just going to use regular Memento Black. Give it one more so it's nice and crisp. There we go. Put that aside. Now, we've got our greeting. Close my ink before I get it everywhere. Now I'm going to mat this onto my Daffodil Delight. I thought the daffodil really kind of just drew out some of the accents on the flowers because we used, bring it in where you can see it. I used Daffodil Delight in the centers of the flowers and just the little sprigs are daffodil. So we're going to line that up on there. Now we're going to decorate it. So we've got our flowers, and I only need 2 and 1, so I'm just going to trim the die cut. There's our separate flowers. Now we have all our leaves. And just to add, when you do die cuts, if you add just a touch of sponging to them, just gives them dimension. So we're going to add same color. These are cut into Old Olive. And I'm just going to add a little bit of Old Olive to the tips of these leaves. See how it, here I'll bring them up and show you how they make a difference. Just adding a little bit of, look, I already got ink on me, you guys. I cannot do a card without ink on me. See the difference? Just a little bit of sponging adds some dimension to your die cuts. And since these are super fine, I can't really sponge the edges, so I'm just dabbing it on the edges with my dauber. We're going to do all of them. Card making's, all about the detail to me. Little details. Some people notice the little details. Some people don't. But this is a habit I got into a long time ago doing. Okay, so now we want to line up our flowers. Now I had a little trick here I did that helped me get the items behind my flowers where I wanted them. So I took my flower and let's add a little bit of Wink Stella to these flowers. Just a little bit. Gotta have that bling bling. There we go. Now I want to have my sprig. So let's do a sprig about here. And we're going to put the two big flowers on the bottom corner. Let's see if I can move in for you. I just had did my camera, so I'm having trouble running the controls. So now we want some leaves back here. And this way I can put them to where they're not going to interfere with my greeting. So I'm just going to kind of lay them where I want them. Let's do a little bit more about right there. Make sure our sprig is pulled out a little. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put just a little bit of tape on the back side of my flowers here. And that way when I go down, I can pick up all these items all at once. Move that one over. And now with a little bit of tape on there, I picked them all up where I wanted them. I can adjust them. And then I'm going to take, just for giggles, I'm going to take a little bit of regular Scotch tape. Just put it right on the back of there. And those aren't going to go anywhere. So we're going to glue it down. I didn't do much pop-up on the card itself because there's the pop-up inside. So let's put those flowers there. And I'm going to do the same thing with this little flower. Bring in my sprig. Here I want my sprig to go almost to the happy birthday. Bring in a couple of leaves. Lay them down. Add a little bit of tape to the back side here. Let's, oh, did I get tape up? Then I'm going to pick up my leaves, and there you go, see it all stuck. It's just an easier way for me for designing the layout with such small items. Now I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this. Line it up on here. I'm going to put a touch of glue behind this guy because he's wanting to run away. There we go. And for my little sprigs I used some champagne rhinestones. Let's get our, okay, there it is. We're looking for our little pickup tool here. Let's just add right to the end of those sprigs. Just add some shine and shimmer to your card. Look at that, you got it all decorated. Now this is a piece of 4 by 5 1/4. Now you can pop this up if you wanted. I'm going to do mine straight down. I want my attention to go to the pop-up inside the card. So just center that. And now our cake should be dry. So here's our cake. Whoop, popped right up out of there. And both sides match. Then I'm just going to use a little block. And in here it has a to you. So we've got happy birthday. And I'm going to try to stamp this to you where it's hidden behind the cake there. Which will be pretty easy to do because it's a small stamp. And let's put it about right there. You could do more decoration on the inside of here, obviously. I'm going to add a little bit of Wink Stella to the flowers on this cake also. Let's do a little Wink Stella on there. Just a little shimmer. Add our card front. So the longest part that it'll take you to do this card is the coloring, and that's it. Let's there we go. So you have happy birthday. Oh, pop up to you. That's it today. I hope you enjoyed today's card. Now remember, this can be adapted. So all I did here was create. Here, I'll show you this really quick so that you know any image you want can go in here. So I'm just going to take a piece of paper. I can take this scrap right here. And all I'm going to do is create what I need there. I'm going to cut it. And how big is this? This is about, what is that? It's about 4.5. So let's do it in half. Let's just fold it in half. And now I'm just going to do a 1/4 inch and it scored both sides for me, and your flaps are right there. Okay, so you can take any image and just glue it right to the top of here, and then you're going to insert it in your card. Here, I'll even get a card base and show you real quick. So let's create a card base because I'll be making some more of these little pop-ups. So here's our card base. And now take your flaps, fold them out flat. Okay, here's your flaps. And then just put your adhesive, you can use your double-sided tape or glue. Put it only on the flaps. Go right to the crease. Okay, see where the crease is there? So I'm going right to the edge of the crease. Close the card down on it. Let my glue attach. And then see, you have a pop-up there for you. You could put any image here on the front of it and you have a pop-up. Okay. There you go. I hope you enjoyed today's class on mirrored stamping and mirrored die cutting. Continue along the blog hop. There's some wonderful, wonderful projects everybody's done for you that with the theme of celebrations. Celebrations is the items that you can get for free with qualifying orders. I will have attachments to the celebration catalog below. Please enjoy the hop and have a happy stampin' day. Bye bye now.